You will be astonished to hear what happened next when a woman's son took over after her husband died, leaving her a widow. A tale of perseverance, empathy, and a surprising turn of events. What transpired will astound you. To find out what happens at the end, watch the whole thing. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and bell symbol. Here we go. Sajid, a young lad of 12, and his family resided in a humble 3-story house in a bygone era. His dad worked for a private company and he built the house. His father's untimely death occurred 5 years ago when he was just 35 years old. His untimely passing left an insurmountable hole in the family's financial situation. The death of Sajid's father occurred when his mother was just 27 years old. She had to fend for her children on her own at a very young age. Financial hardship compounded the tremendous anguish she felt after the loss of her husband. They were unable to survive for long on the 200,000 taka, about $2,000, that Sajid's father's employer had given them. Regrettably, nobody from their inner circle stepped up to lend a hand. Everyone says that when times are difficult, even relatives become strangers, and that certainly was the case here. When Sajid was a little boy, his family was surrounded by people. Now they were all alone. Nobody bothered to see how they were doing after that. Everyone just went on with their lives. Sajid's mom, who had always been a doting wife, suddenly found herself in an entirely new position, all alone. As the only breadwinner in her family, she spent her days moping and her evenings fretting over where her children would get their food. At home, she devoted herself entirely to brainstorming potential sources of income. There was little she could do with the little money her husband left her. It went out fast. Their inability to pay bills got intolerable as time went on. There was a scarcity of food since they were unable to pay their bills. Making the most of their difficult situation, Sajid's mom sold what little they had and did all she could to save money. Nevertheless, despite her selflessness, the funds were depleted within a decade, abandoning her with little alternative. She was faced with a challenging choice. If she wanted to provide for her kids, she would have to get a job. The mother of Sajid had to confront the difficulties of being a single parent, juggling the needs of 2 children as she ventured out into the workforce. She began her working life as a low-paying housemaid. Still, it was a beginning. 2 additional housekeeping jobs came her way shortly after she persisted in her hunt. She was able to bring in 12,000 taka per month from her 3 occupations. She persisted even though it was barely enough to meet their daily needs. But life was still tough even with this meager wage. It was necessary to take care of the children's requirements in addition to paying the bills and rent. There was tremendous pressure. Sajid and his sister's schooling and basic needs were covered by half of her income, leaving her with no money for herself. Sajid, meanwhile, tried his best to ignore the incessant worries about money and food at home and concentrate on his schoolwork. Though he made an effort to keep his focus on his studies, he eventually felt the effects of stress and hunger. Sajid had gone 2 days without eating. As his energy dwindled, he found it difficult to focus. He felt weary and his stomach hurt. With the hope that it would alleviate his discomfort, he continued to drink only water. His vitality, however, seemed to dwindle as he sat through class. Everything around him appeared to disappear into blackness, and his vision became fuzzy. Sajid's transformation was picked up by his teacher Bilal. As he watched the frail, pallid youngster fight for consciousness, he pondered what might be wrong. Bilal cautiously approached Sajid and inquired, "Are you feeling okay?" Out of concern, Sajid answered, "Yes, sir, I'm fine," as he fought to open his eyes. He was unbelievable to Bilal. Sajid was clearly not okay, as he could see. "Say it to my face if you must." He was insistent. "You seem unwell." The admission that "we have no food at home" came after some hesitating on Sajid's part. "2 days have passed without us eating. My health is declining." When Bilal heard this, his heart sunk. His eyes widened at the sight of Sajid's pain. Upon rising, he escorted Sajid to the teacher's office and promptly summoned the school janitor to accompany him to the market. He was given some money by Bilal, who then ordered him to fetch food for Sajid immediately. The housekeeper didn't waste any time getting a burger and a refreshing drink. He was in the market in no time. Sajid was given food by Bilal, who instructed him to eat it. "You have to get back into shape." Sajid was hesitant at first, but when he bit into the burger and drank the refreshing drink, he felt better. Slowly but surely, his vitality returned. His vision improved, and his thoughts got clearer. After what seemed like an eternity, Sajid finally felt normal. Still worried yet happy to see Sajid making progress, Bilal inquired, "How are you feeling now?" For the first time, Sajid's face revealed traces of relief as he softly nodded. "My spirits have lifted, sir. I appreciate it." Bilal beamed with joy. "Very well. Get back to your lessons. Please visit my office after school." Sajid, who was still a bit queasy but could think more clearly now, made his way to Bilal's office as the school bell rang, signifying the end of the day. Bilal was already there to greet him when he got there. "It's all right, Sajid. I'm going to help you," Bilal declared, rising to his feet. With a comforting touch, he guided Sajid to his bicycle while placing a hand on his shoulder. "Are you ready? I'll show you around town." They walked to the market together, and Bilal pedaled while Sajid sat behind him. All of Sajid's family's necessities were purchased by Bilal. We needed staples like rice, lentils, sugar and flour. However, Bilal continued. The groceries were brought to Sajid's house by him directly. Unfortunately, Sajid's mom wasn't home when they got there. She would often stay up cleaning houses and be home at the crack of dawn. After stacking the groceries in the kitchen, Bilal shifted his attention to Sajid. "Moving forward, there is no longer any cause for concern. I will see to it that your loved ones are taken care of. If you want to be able to concentrate on your schoolwork without worrying about how you will eat next month, I will bring food." Sajid felt a tremendous wave of relief. It had never occurred to him that anybody other than his family might love him so deeply. When Bilal was at his lowest, his generosity shone like a lighthouse. "I know things are rough right now, but focus on your academics," Bilal told Sajid as he turned to go. "To a brighter tomorrow, it is the answer. I will see to the remainder." The intervention by Bilal was not an isolated incident. Consistently providing groceries to Sajid and his family's house, he kept his word. Even though he was not a close relative, this man was so friendly to Sajid's mother that she could not believe it. Bilal never once asked for anything in return for all the services he gave, even if his pay was not much. He would drop by Sajid's house on a monthly basis to check on the family's food supply. Giving meals was just the beginning of his assistance. The kitchen was surprisingly well stocked with all the necessary items one day when Sajid's mom came home. "How did this happen?" she said, her voice filled with incredulity. "It was Sir Bilal," Sajid said from his seat close. "These supplies are sent by him monthly. He went to such far as to negotiate a tuition waiver for me, covering the 3 months I had fallen behind." It was at this point that Sajid's mom started crying. She found it hard to imagine that an unbiased third party would go to such great efforts to assist. Bilal's altruism moved her to tears, and she hoped he was doing okay while she thanked him for the tremendous strength he had given them during their darkest hours. Bilal did things that the majority of people would never dream of. The future of Sajid was important to him. He understood that education was Sajid and his family's ticket out of poverty. Sajid was urged by Bilal to devote himself fully to his studies, and Bilal assured Sajid that he would be at his side through thick and thin. Despite her profound gratitude, Sajid's mom felt bad that she couldn't thank Bilal for all of his compassion. "You are not need to express gratitude to me," Bilal modestly told her. "You might think of me as a brother to you. The bare minimum I can do is lend you a hand. My heart belongs to you and Sajid." Even though Sajid's mom worked very hard to make ends meet, they were never hungry because of Bilal's unwavering support. As time went on, Sajid's mom finally felt at ease knowing that her children wouldn't go hungry because someone was watching out for them. Sajid recommitted himself to his studies as the days went by. Because of Bilal's altruistic aid, He got more and more driven to succeed. After Sir Bilal helped him out so much, he started fantasizing about a better life where he could pay it forward. In spite of everything that happened, Sajid got better at school. After he committed himself fully, he began to excel academically. He went from being a clumsy, easily distracted student to a focused, optimistic young man, and his professors took note. However, Bilal's influence went far beyond his assistance with food and tuition. Regardless of how tough things get, he taught Sajid that education is the route to success. After Bilal helped Sajid, he felt determined to change his life for the better and serve others the way Bilal had helped him. Sajid was profoundly impacted by Bilal. He was more than a teacher. He was a mentor and a beacon of hope during Sajid's lowest point. Sajid carried the wisdom Bilal shared with him well beyond the four walls of the classroom. As a result of his renewed strength, Sajid started to hope for a better future. Knowing that he would be able to repay Bilal in the finest way imaginable by excelling and helping others, he devoted himself totally to his studies. Things started to shift in Sajid's life that he couldn't have predicted when time went on. His undivided attention could be devoted to his studies because to Bilal's steadfast encouragement. Remembering his mother's efforts and Bilal's generosity, he dedicated himself fully to his studies. Realizing this was his chance to provide a better life for his loved ones, he pushed harder than before. Then, out of the blue, Sajid got the news he'd always wanted. He was given the opportunity to attend a famous university overseas thanks to a scholarship. A sense of immense joy washed over him, as if the trials and tribulations he and his family had been through were finally lifting. The news delighted his sister and mother. They finally found cause to rejoice after what felt like an eternity. The possibility of studying abroad had never occurred to Sajid. For a long time, it appeared like an impossible ideal, one that only the well-off could ever attain. However, he might now realize that goal. With a plane ticket issued to him by the university, he was ready to start a new chapter in his life. His sister and mother stood by his side on the day of his departure, their eyes filling with tears. "To make you proud, I shall strive hard," Sajid said as he embraced them closely. Reflecting on his long journey from a youngster fighting for survival to a young man with a promising future, he couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment as he got on the plane. Finally, after a lengthy flight, Sajid touched down in his new nation. The institution had taken care of all his needs, including food, lodging, and tuition. Sajid was quite appreciative. Thanks to Bilal and others like him, he realized he was on the verge of a fresh start. Even though Sajid adapted to his new life, he never stopped thinking about his loved ones back home. He was able to send his mother a monthly check in addition to the money he received from his scholarship, which paid all of his bills. He was concerned about her and his younger sister's well-being because he knew she was still working hard to support them. With the promise that he could provide for her, Sajid persuaded his mother to leave her job as a housekeeper. He hoped she would take it easy and relish in her hard work. At long last, things started looking up for Sajid, and he felt an overwhelming need to repay his family for all they had done for him. His financial status got even better as time went by. He got a job on the side. Bilal proceeded further. He went out of his way to deliver Sajid food, including grains, lentils, sugar, and flour. They got home, but Sajid's mom hadn't yet shown up. Cleaning houses was her nightly job, and she would typically be home early in the morning. After stacking the groceries in the kitchen, Bilal shifted his attention to Sajid. "Moving forward, there's no need to be concerned. I will see to it that your loved ones are taken care of. Every month, I will provide food so you can concentrate on your studies without worrying about where you will get your next meal." Sajid felt a tremendous wave of relief. The fact that someone other than his own family would show him such immense affection was completely unexpected. During his lowest point, Bilal's generosity shone like a lighthouse. "I know things are tough right now, but concentrate on your schoolwork," Bilal told Sajid as he gazed at him before he left. "A brighter future is within reach via education. I will see to the remainder." Bilal's assistance remained ongoing. He faithfully delivered the groceries promised to Sajid and his family on a monthly basis. The generosity of this stranger, who was not even a blood relative, shocked Sajid's mother. Bilal never once asked for anything in return for all the services he gave, even if his pay was not much. To make sure they had enough food to last the month, he would frequently visit Sajid's residence. There was more to his assistance than just food. The kitchen was surprisingly well stocked with all the necessities. One day when Sajid's mom came home, "How did this happen?" she said, her voice filled with incredulity. "It was Sir Bilal," Sajid said from his seat close. "These supplies are sent by him monthly. In fact, he went to the school administration and had my 3 months' worth of overdue tuition paid for." When Sajid's mom heard this, she started crying. It seemed unbelievable to her that someone would go to such extreme measures to provide a hand when they had no responsibility to do so. Bilal's altruism moved her to tears, and she hoped he was doing okay, thankful for the tremendous strength he had given them when circumstances were tough. In comparison to the average person, Bilal did extraordinary things. He had genuine concern for Sajid's future and understood that education was the key to lifting Sajid and his family out of poverty. Sajid was urged by Bilal to devote himself fully to his academics, and Bilal promised that no matter what, he would be Sajid's rock. Sajid's mom was extremely appreciative, but she still felt terrible about not being able to return Bilal's generosity. But Bilal was still modest and comforted her. "Thanking me is unnecessary. You might think of me as a brother to you. The bare minimum I can do is lend you a hand. My heart belongs to you and Sajid." They were never hungry again thanks to Bilal's unwavering support, which allowed Sajid's mother to focus on earning a living. Eventually, Sajid's mom found relief in the knowledge that her children wouldn't go hungry and that someone was watching out for them. With each passing month, Sajid redoubled his efforts to excel in his academics. Because of Bilal's altruistic assistance, he was more driven than before to achieve his goals. Sajid started fantasizing about a future when he might make amends to Bilal for all that he had done for him. Academically, Sajid did better despite everything that was going on. He put in a lot of time studying and soon was getting good marks. His teachers could tell he had changed. The clumsy, easily distracted student who had trouble paying attention in class was suddenly engaged and optimistic. Although Bilal did help out with food and tuition, his impact went well beyond that. He taught Sajid that knowledge was the answer to every problem, no matter how bad things became. After Bilal helped Sajid, he felt he could do the same for other people if he worked hard enough. Bilal had an enormous effect on Sajid's life. He was more than a teacher. He was a mentor and a beacon of hope for Sajid when he was at his lowest. The impact of his teachings on Sajid extended far beyond the confines of the classroom. Sajid mustered up the bravery to envision a better future for himself. He devoted himself entirely to his studies since he planned to repay Bilal in the greatest way possible by going on to achieve great success and be of service to others. Unpredictable changes started to take place in Sajid's life as time went on. He was free to devote himself fully to his studies because to Bilal's steadfast encouragement. Devoting himself fully to his studies, he kept in mind the selflessness of his mother and the generosity of Bilal. Realizing this was his opportunity to provide a better life for his loved ones, he worked harder than before. Sajid finally got the news he'd always wanted. A famous institution abroad had offered him a scholarship, so he could study there. He was filled with an amazing bliss. All the troubles he and his family had been through seemed to be finally ending. His sister and mom were ecstatic. They finally found cause to rejoice after what felt like an eternity. It had never occurred to Sajid that he could get the chance to study in another country. For as long as I could remember, it had appeared to be an elusive ideal only accessible to the well-off. That aspiration, however, was now within his grasp. He was set to start a new chapter in his life when the university sent him a plane ticket. His sister and mother stood by his side on the day of his departure, their eyes watering with emotion. And Sajid said, "I will work hard and make you proud." He then embraced them passionately. As he got on the plane, he thought about how much he had changed from a little kid fighting for his life to a young man with great dreams for the future. It was a long flight, but Sajid made it to his new home. The institution had taken care of all his needs, including food, lodging, and tuition. Knowing that he was on the verge of a fresh start, made possible by the kindness of people like Bilal, brought immense gratitude to Sajid's heart. As Sajid adjusted to his new life, he never lost touch with his loved ones back home. He was able to pay for everything and even sent his mother a little extra each month thanks to the scholarship. He wanted to make sure his sister and herself were well cared for, and he knew she was still working hard to do so. Sajid assured his mother that he could provide for her, so he urged her to leave her job as a maid. He hoped she would take it easy and relish in her hard work. As time went on, Sajid's financial circumstances got even better. While he was in school, he got a part-time job, and he was able to help out his mom even more financially. After he established himself in his new life, his mother, who had a hard time providing for her children, was finally able to relax and enjoy life. She made their house a home by updating it with new furniture and finishing renovations with the money Sajid sent. A new sense of optimism and potential had replaced the anxieties and hardships of the past.